You know, the row between the NNPC and the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAAC, over remittances appears to have come to a head, with the former failing to make monetary transfers to the latter. Now, Mr. President has therefore approved a memo approving a committee to reconcile the crisis between the two, that's the NNPC and the FAAC, over the remittance failure. Meanwhile, the FAAC has shared a total of 786 billion naira for the month of June. That's the problem of doing the right things at the right time, Solomon.
First, well, if the president doesn't have an answer, he has to try to find an answer. Why shouldn't there be remittance? Has Nigeria not been lifting oil? Has the NNPC not been refining oil, whether at home or abroad?
Has it not been making money?
Has it not been making money? Why will there not be remittance to FAAC? And why will there be zero remittance for the month? And you know the implication of that. The implication of that means that we did not make...
And is there no proper accounting system here?
Now, that is what the president has to unravel. He's not been in the saddle. Someone else had been in the saddle. For how long has this been going on? How did we get to the point where the NNPC, that has almost the sole right to lift crude, to refine them, to bring them in, is telling us that there is no remittance? So what do the states get? What do the local governments get for the month? What does the federal government get for the month? Because if we make no remittance, then it means that there's no money to spend. So except we have to go back to the till and look at how much we can eke out, how much we can scrum out from the till to settle that in the meantime. And that's not good. That's not boding well. Yeah. So the president has taken the right step first. You do not, even though the president is a finance person. Now, this is the difference. So he's a finance person, so he knows the tricks. So when he talked about fuel subsidy and took the step to ensure that there is a level of price liberalization, so that, now look at it, people, the first thing I thought to myself was, okay, so when the fuel subsidy was removed, when he announced that it was gone, then suddenly the NNPC was the first to raise its own price, and every other person followed suit. And I imagine, so why should it be the NNPC first? So is the NNPC not making money? But then I understood that the president himself understands the finance of having to move up the price, or else would have been in a bigger problem by now. So let's look at it. The committee would then have to do its job and let us find out exactly what the problem is. But I'm at a quandary right now. So Nigeria didn't make money for the month. I'm confused. I'm confused.
I wonder if Tunde is.
Well, let me take us back to the statement of the president again, that when he was talking to governors, that he has accepted, and they too should accept that they have inherited liability and assets. And the question is, when we talk about remittance to the Federation account, it is not a new thing. We have been on it for probably years now, that NNPC will come out that you could not remit. The question you ask yourself is that, when was the last time there was an audit of the NNPC? Both human, material, and resources. Until the president, between now, yes, this is June, between now and September, there has to be a thorough audit of the NNPC for the president to know whether the NNPC is even still serving the interest of Nigeria as an entity that is wholly owned by Nigeria. To be able, because oil remains 90% of our source of foreign earnings. So if there is no proper audit of the NNPC, how do we question them if they say there's no money to share?
And to add to that, we hear, it must be true, that for many years the NNPC never accounted to anybody.
To anybody. So
never.
You see, it's just like what we have been hearing, things we have been hearing of CBN. The CBN has grown to such an extent that it has almost swallowed the NDIC. So the NNPC too has swallowed all the other subsidiaries. They have become a government to themselves. So one of the gray areas to address it is to, first of all, audit the NNPC, not only the account, not only the personnel, this NNPC as a body. Thank God that they said it is now NNPC Limited. if it is limited, it is subject to audit.
It means
all the directors of
the books will be made public.
It has to be made public. It is made public. Because except, of course, the president tapped this thing, he will keep on returning to us. Then why are now they telling us that the subsidy was removed May 29? This is June. It means there was no money, they did not make any dime.
No provision.
May. Does it mean that they did not make any dime throughout the month of May? Because this is no. Does it mean they did not?
Well, I don't work in the NNPC,
so
as confused as you are,
that's
as confused as you are.
Make any money
but this is not a laughing matter. It's not a joke. When you consider that this economy is mono. Oil is the mainstay of the Nigerian state.
90% of our...
And we are messing with that oil.
And we are messing with it. But first, we must ask certain fundamental questions. What was the structure of the NNPC? And in transition into a limited liability or a public liability company, as the case may be, what was the restructuring that took place? What was the proper restructuring? These are some of the things that have to be asked, because the things seem to me so simple, so easy overnight, and then it seems it just happened, you know, and then next thing we had by fiat, NNPC was transiting to a limited company. And I'm like, okay, so how does this happen?
You must throw the baby away with it.
I mean, so what's the structure? What is the point of agreement? What was the consensus about how this should work?
Who controls the lever?
These are some of the things. Because how does the regulator transit to a player?
Is there a regulator?
No. How NNPC was a regulator.
Regulator of the oil industry.
So how does a regulator transit to a player without a proper structure? So who is regulating? Well, we know on paper there's somebody who is supposed to be regulating. There's an agency that is supposed to be regulating. So how is this structure? We need to interrogate some things. But I'm happy. It's just that as you keep talking about liability, it is true, you inherit liabilities. The task of having to unravel some of the things and coupling them, you know, you have to first unravel it and then couple the whole thing together. I hope the president will be able to do this. Speed is of the essence, or else people will run out of patience, because people care about their stomach, what we'll eat, what we'll drink. It's not so much about grammar and setting up committees. We hope that the committees will come up with the things that they need to come up with. But first, the president will not know what has happened, except the committee brings in the report. And then we'll take it up from there. And we hope the committee will expedite action, because Nigerians are waiting.
Today, let me quickly tease you before we go to our next subject. Do you think, like the Americans do, we have a Nigerian dream?
Well, I think...
is there any such thing as a Nigerian dream?
Well,
do we dream at all?
I will also ask you whether you believe that is there a national interest? Do we have a national interest? Because when we have a national interest, if your state interest clash with the national interest takes over. Why I ask that question is that most leaders in Africa appropriate their personal interest to national interest. And their national interest stops where their finances are affected. And they appropriate their personal interest, which in most cases is security.
So
security of a lot of things.
Tunde, in short,
so if
the dream, if any, is not clear.
It's not clear.
There is a Nigerian dream.
Okay.
There is.
Maybe after the show, open the book to me.